Welcome. Welcome, everybody. I'm Liz Bebo, and I'm Worship Associate here at Horizon UU Church. We're so glad to have you with us today, whether you're joining us in person or virtually, whether you're here for the first time or whether you've been here for longer than you can remember. Here at Horizon, we welcome people of all faiths and of no faith in particular. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your journey, you are welcome among us.
Good morning, everybody. I'm the Reverend Meredith Barber, and I'm the minister here at Horizon. And this morning, I have a very exciting announcement that Carolyn Moore and Beth Barger are going to come up and share with you.
Good morning. Beth is joining me this morning. She's the chairperson of the Leadership Development and Nominating Committee, and I'm president of the board. We do have an exciting announcement. From March 20th through April 3rd, members of Horizon completed forms or sent emails, each recommending the names of up to 3 members who they believed could represent the congregation and serve as the ministerial search committee in search for our next settled minister. For those of you who don't know or who are new to Horizon, Reverend Meredith is our interim minister serving through, I think it's July of 2023. After all the forms were pulled together, representatives from the board and leadership development contacted the names with the most recommendations, and 7 members of our congregation accepted. Yay! So at the board meeting on April 18th, the trustees affirmed this slate of names, and on May 22nd, at Horizon's annual congregational meeting, the congregation will vote. You'll have plenty of time to get to know these people and talk to them. Pictures and short bios will be posted on the governance page on the website, plus also out on the bulletin boards, along with a lot of other information for the annual meeting. Hint, hint. Go out and read all that. If you read Horizon's newsletter this week, this won't be a surprise, but today, officially, we're happy to announce the names of those people who you'll vote on in May to serve on the MSC. So, MSC folks, please stand as your name is called. This is in alphabetical order by last name. And I'm not sure they're all here, but Lisa Casto. Gay Cox, who's back there greeting. Warren Spiker. Bunny Summerlin. Saj Survey, Helena Ulakovic, I'm going to get it one of these days, and Laura Wooten, who I don't think is in California. So those are our 7 people. There will be plenty of opportunities to talk to the MSC members over the coming months as they arrange meetings, gather information, send out surveys, so please participate when you hear from them. They'll also provide updates as we move along through the process. So thank you to the new committee, and thank you to the congregation for all the recommendations. Thank you.
Good morning. Long time no see in person. I'm Melinda Enox-Baucom, and I've been a member of Horizon for about 5 years. I've served in the choir and Horizon Players, and I'm currently the chairperson of the Green Sanctuary Task Force. This morning's call to worship is going to be a call and response. I'm going to read a phrase or a couple of phrases, and then I'm going to gesture, and you're going to respond with rise. No, not rise, but rise. Feel the rise. This is the poem Rise by Gretchen Haley. Because the tides are rising, so must we rise. To this moment, rise. To this day, rise. To this life, rise. To this place in the web that is yours and ours. Rise. Because the earth remains our only home, and we, fellow travelers, its only hope for healing, wholeness, salvation. Rise. Before the mystery, before the Big Bang that started it all, that this infinite universe still takes notice of us, still feels the in and out of our breath, still holds us and connects us. Rise. Or surrender with gratitude for this beauty, this chance to be part of it all, to give back, to weave life, past, present, future, everywhere, always as one. Come, let us worship together.
We will now light our chalice. The chalice lighting is a reading, The End is the Beginning, by Katie Gelfand. We call forth the life of our faith by lighting our chalice. This spark of new beginnings invites us into a sacred space to reflect where we have been and where we are going. Even knowing that this particular flame will intentionally end with our ritual extinguishing, we fear not its end. For we know, with brave hearts, that from every ending in our lives, we are sent forth to make a new beginning. And now will you say with me the affirmation of our faith? Love is the doctrine of our church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in harmony with the earth. Thus do we covenant together.
Okay, folks, please rise, either in body or in spirit, and join together in singing our opening hymn, For the Earth Forever Turning. It's number 163 in your gray hymnal.
For the earth forever turning, for the skies for every sea, for our lives, for all we cherish, sing we our joyful song of peace. For the mountains, hills, and pastures, in their silent majesty, for the stars, for all the heavens, sing we our joy. joy we sing, returning home to our blue-green hills of earth.
Good morning. My name is Lauren Daniel, and I'm the Director of Lifespan Religious Education, and now is the time for all ages. And I have some volunteers of all ages that are supposed to come forward now, so I'm going to ask them to create a circle on the floor going up to the chancel, which is the stage. So can I have my volunteers come up, adult and children alike, please? So while they are making a web, we're going to go ahead, I'm going to tell you a story, and the story is going to be in two parts. So the story I'm going to tell you today is about a spider, a very simple little spider that did an amazing thing. Once upon a time, a VIP, a very important person, was watching a spider weave her web, and the very important person thought to herself, why are there spiders? What good are they? They aren't beautiful. They aren't cute. They can't do tricks. They don't like guard my house or make me money or make me anything I can eat or wear. They don't sing or make interesting sounds. And those webs, they build, they're just a nuisance. They get in my hair. And the little spider overheard her, but she didn't care. She just kept working on her web. Soon, the very important person was in trouble. As you know, people who are in leadership sometimes have people that disagree with them. Her enemies were out to get her. She had to run and hide, and so she found this cave, the deepest, darkest cave to hide in. But she was still worried her enemies would find her. Okay, I'm gonna pause there, and I'm gonna see where we are in it looks like our web is still being built. So let's go ahead and maybe we can imagine the spider weaving her web. You know how slowly that is and how intricate it is? Because as you can see, it's happening right now. It's very slow and intricate. I love how the web is going from one corner to another so that everyone is connected. Look at that, it's almost over. All right, we're almost done. So I'm going to finish the story now. Just then, the very important person, the VIP, noticed the little spider had started building a new web at the entrance of that cave she was hiding in. The VIP was very afraid to shoo her away for fear that her enemies might hear. So she just stayed very quiet and watched the spider work. In no time, the cave entrance was completely covered by the web. And it was just in time because right then the VIP's enemies came running up to the cave, but they didn't go in. So now I'm going to take a little break. Okay? So what I'd like our folks to do is to stand up. And I'm going to ask you some questions while you're holding, and make sure that you pull on that web, not real hard, but pretty hard. All right, I'm going to ask Miss Tina to pull on one of the strands. Okay, and folks on the stage, did you feel that in your hands when she pulled on the stage? All right, okay. Now, I'm going to ask, when I come and touch you on the shoulder, I want you to let your part of the web go, and then I want you to take a seat on the ground. Okay, still so pretty good. All right, let's get in there. How about one other person? All right, the next person. All right, and now the last person. I think that's you, Tina. All right, I have some questions for you. I'm going to go ahead, if it's okay, and change microphones so I can walk around. Okay. There we go, it's working now. So I had some questions for you all as you did this activity. You said you could feel it when Tina pulled on the string, right? So what happened as this person let go of their thread? What happened? What happened? Okay, this person said they could feel things starting to come undone and get loose. Does anybody else want to talk about what happened when, I forgot, who was the second person to let their thread go? What happened when that person let their thread go? What happened? What did you feel in the web? Did it get stronger? No, it did not get stronger. Oh, say that again? It was the exact opposite, so it got a little looser and a little looser. And so if I can summarize, so as people let their strands go, it was getting looser and looser and looser until it finally fell apart, didn't it, when Tina let all hers go, right? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish our story now, and I'm gonna move over to this microphone again. So now let's go back to the story. So the leader of the people chasing our very important person, remember, the cave is covered by spider web. That leader said, "Ick, no need to go into that cave. Look at this big, icky spider web. It's clear no one has been in here in a long time." And they went away. Then our protagonist, the very important person, said, "Wow, spiders are the best. So what if they're not beautiful or cute? They can't do tricks or sing, can't guard my house, make me money, or make me things I can eat or wear. The spider deserves our kindness and respect, just like all animals." And so I wanted to tell everyone assembled that the earth is a lot like this web. We are connected to everything in the world, just like the web we saw up here. We are connected to each other, we're connected to the animals and the plants. In real life, you can't see this web. Even so, when we pull on it or we break it, all the other people and animals and plants can feel it. And just as you could feel it when Tina pulled on the yarn, that's how it goes out through all our entire ecosystem. And just as our web of yarn fell apart, our web of life begins to fall apart when things start disappearing and letting go. And so in conclusion, our seventh Unitarian Universalist principle reminds us that we are all part of the interdependent web of life. When we do faithful actions that follow the seventh principle, we are respecting the web of life and help protect everything that lives on earth that we all share. So thank you, volunteers. You may return to your seats, and thank you all for listening so kindly to our story today.
Thank you, friends. We come now to the time in our worship service where we share our gifts. I invite you all into a spirit of generosity this morning as the gifts to sustain the ministries of this church are lovingly given and received.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my rose will burn away. I know my sea will burn its ways. I know this rose will unfurl its wings. I know this rose
The first reading is Creation, Part 1, by Jess Reynolds, They, Them. By the bus stop grows a copse of trees, tall and sturdy pines. I learned the word evergreen standing beneath their branches. 4 years old and waiting with my mother for my sister to come home from school. If we got there early, I would clamber over the guardrail that lined the sidewalk and greet the trees, crunching dry needles beneath my light-up sneakers. My favorite was a tiny pine, just a foot taller than me, alone in its stature among dozens of elders, their tops 3 times my mother's height. We were friends, the baby tree and I loved with a fierceness reserved for something that was not too big for me to understand. We are both older now, and I will never grow as tall as the pines by the bus stop, but I have grown taller than my mother in the years since, and I wonder if my friend has done the same.
We come now to the time in our worship service that we set aside for meditation and prayer. We'll share a moment of silence, hear the joys and sorrows of our community, and then we'll have a special kind of prayer this morning. So I invite you to join me now in a moment of silence. So the joy we have to share this morning is from me. Joy at having an all-ages worship service this morning. Joy at seeing our children here among us. And gratitude to the Green Sanctuary folks and all who have come together to make worship happen this morning. So, in that spirit, we're going to try a body prayer this morning. So I will lead us through it first, and then we'll all do it together. And I want to say a couple words about prayer before I do that. So when I was little, I went to a church kind of like this, and we had certain spoken prayers that we said together. And for a long time, I thought that that was the only way to pray. And it wasn't until I was much older that I realized how silly that was, of course. There are so many other ways to pray. Writing can be a prayer. A song can be a prayer. A walk in the woods can be a prayer. And we can also pray with our bodies. So this is a body prayer written by Robin Slaw. So we start and we bring our hands together in front of our heart, and we pause, and we breathe. Then we lift our hands out in front of us to offer to others and to the world all that we have to give. Then we lift our hands high over our heads, reaching out to the world, imagining others around us and feeling their connection to us. Then we bring our hands down, gathering in all of those connections. And then we bring them to our heart, and we return to our stillness. So let's do that again. So we start with our hands together in front of our heart, and we pause, and we breathe again. And then we lift our hands out in front of us to offer to others and to the world everything we have to give. Then we lift our hands high over our heads, reaching out to the world, imagining all the others connected to us, feeling that connection. Then we bring our hands down, we gather those connections in, and then we bring them to our heart in gratitude. Amen. So I invite you now to rise, either in body or in spirit, and join in singing our responsive hymn, Spirit of Life. Please be seated.
Me again? Oh, and good job on the rise. I really felt it, okay? I didn't want to say it at the time because we were about to, worship. Okay. I've always been interested in nature and the interconnectedness of our world. Some savvy church members picked up on this pretty quickly. I do tend to go on and on about my interests, and they pointed me toward the Green Sanctuary program. The Unitarian Universalist Green Sanctuary program was begun in 1989. It's undergone a number of evolutions, but the intent has always been to help UU congregations and individuals live our seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part, more fully. The most recent iteration of the program emphasizes work on climate change and environmental justice in collaboration within congregations and with groups and individuals outside of them. To acquire Green Sanctuary accreditation through the UUA, a congregation plans and carries out projects designed to benefit the environment, increase members' awareness of and reverence for the interdependent web, while building and strengthening connections. I and other interested Horizon members first met to discuss Green Sanctuary in May of 2019. We researched, discussed, talked to other church members and our minister, and on September 18th of that year, the board approved our team as an official task force. Since that time, the task force has planned and led many events and projects with the invaluable help of other leaders in the church and members of Horizon. We have carried out and participated in Earth Sunday services, workshops, discussion groups, rallies, protests, letter writing initiatives, and more. We have one last project to complete and are currently creating our report for the accreditation review team. Perhaps no other project exemplifies environmental justice, collaboration, and the recognition of the interdependent web than our Shingle Mountain project. Shingle Mountain, standing 60 feet tall, weighing approximately 100,000 pounds, and taking up an area more than a city block, was the name given by local environmental and justice advocacy groups to an illegal dump of asphalt housing shingles adjacent to a residential area in South Dallas. The neighborhood closest to this toxic dump is composed almost exclusively of Black and brown residents. South Dallas, with its history of redlining and legacy of racial injustice, has a high percentage of BIPOC residents and, unsurprisingly, polluting businesses and toxic sites which risk the residents' health in the name of profit. For years, the disintegrating shingles at this abandoned and illegal dump site released toxic particulates into the air, worsening existing health issues and creating new ones. This project allowed Horizon members and friends to work directly for environmental justice in collaboration with other activists and groups, and more importantly, the people affected. After numerous actions, including signposting at the site, protests at City Hall, a call and email campaign, coverage by local and national news organizations, public comments to the state of Texas, and a large protest at the gates of the site, Shingle Mountain was finally removed at the end of February 2020. What a feeling. And big shout out to everyone who helped with that, by the way. During our advocacy work to have Shingle Mountain removed, I was asked by a church member why we were getting involved down there. Though taken aback at the time, I decided to treat it as a valid question and did some reflection. The answer I came up with is that the problem is down there, and we're all responsible for it, directly or indirectly. I have to say that I had a real epiphany when I realized that my home had been re-roofed around the time the shingles were being accumulated there. Very possibly, since I live just south of Dallas, very possibly my old shingles became part of that toxic dump. Talk about a connection, right? And that brings us back to the theme of our service today, the interconnection of us all, of every element of our vast multiverse. Some connections are scary, like realizing that your toxic shingles have harmed someone, or the awareness that your breath or that and that of those around you could be deadly for someone because of COVID. Some are joyous, like putting your hands into the rich soil of the earth, or standing at the edge of the ocean, or sharing laughter with someone you know. I invite you to become ever more aware of the interactions of the parts of this unique and wonderful earth of ours, and your personal connections to all that exists. I further challenge you to, as Gretchen Haley urges us in her poem, rise, to live your faith in a way that makes every connection in some way about love. In the words of Carl Sagan, for small creatures such as we, the vastness is bearable only through love. Thank you.
Transitions. The second reading today is The Sun by Mary Oliver. Have you ever seen anything in your life more wonderful than the way the sun every evening, relaxed and easy, floats toward the horizon and into the clouds or the hills or the rumpled sea and is gone? And how it slides again out of the blackness every morning on the other side of the world like a red flower, streaming upward on its heavenly oils, say, on a morning in early summer, at its perfect imperial distance. And have you ever felt anything, felt for anything. Such wild love. Do you think there is anywhere in any language a word billowing enough for the pleasure that fills you as the sun reaches out, as it warms you, as you stand there empty-handed? Or have you, too, turned from this world? Or have you, too, gone crazy for power, for things?
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So, I think many folks may be aware that we are going to try something a little bit new this morning, and we are going to do a soil communion. So if you didn't bring some soil this morning, that's okay. You might want to visit our folks in the back. They have some extra. Okay, wonderful. So we have heard this morning so many reflections, poems, songs about the earth, about the way this soil is the stuff of life itself. It embodies both death, the breaking down of things gone from this world, as well as the way new life is born and created. This morning we've been talking about interconnection, about the ways in which we are all bound together in an interconnected web. I love the imagery of snarls in that web and of knots, because they convey the messiness of our relationships to one another.
I'd like to share now a quote from the writings of Joy Berry, a colleague of mine. We know dirt happens. We know that dirt is what happens when you live a life joyfully, voraciously, authentically. When you are too busy cooking food and loving people and dancing and making things to keep every corner spotless every moment of the day. We knock it off our shoes. We wash it off our faces. We sweep it off the floors. But it is part of us, and it should be. It's too powerful a thing to forget and dismiss. Dirt is foundational. The readier we are to put down roots and to grow and bloom and go to seed, the more we need dirt. We are a faith that says, come, come, whoever you are. Bring your imperfections. Bring your truest, most authentic self. Bring your dirt. We've all got it. It's part of what makes us whole and human beings.
Today, so many of you have brought soil to share with us from somewhere that speaks to you. Maybe from your garden, where you find your peace and your calm each day. We talked about ways to pray earlier. Working in the garden can certainly be a prayer. Maybe it's from the path you walk while you are deep in meditation. Maybe you're bringing soil from a specific place that touches you, deep down in your memory. Maybe it comes from someone important to you, or maybe you forgot to bring some, in which case we have some to share. So in a minute, when the music begins to play, I invite you all to come forward, row by row, and come and place some soil in our collective vessel. As you do so, I invite you to think of your special place that this soil represents. Let us begin. Well, friends, I feel like I may not be as hopeful as Melinda or as eloquent, but here's what I have to say this morning. So you may have noticed when we first met, when people ask where I'm from, I never know exactly how to answer, because the truth is that I am from many places. I was born in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and since then, I've lived in New England when my family moved there, when my mother answered the call to ministry. I returned to Arkansas, where I met my husband. I lived for a time in Florida when I did my chaplaincy training, and then we moved together to Louisiana, so a lot of places. But even while my siblings and I did much of our growing up in New England, my parents made absolutely sure that we would return to Arkansas for visits with family, usually every summer. I think they felt it was important that we not lose our sense of connection to people and also to place. And that's why my answer is always so complicated. Though I lived much of my life in New England, I'm not sure I could ever say I was from there. I do not have roots there. So I can remember one time when we were visiting Arkansas, Van Buren to be precise. I was older this time, in high school, and I noticed that my parents were acting a little bit strange. Never one to shy away from conflict, even then, I decided to poke the bear a little bit, and I asked my dad about it. And he said, as glad as we are to be able to visit, you need to understand that this is hard. It's hard for me, and it's also hard for Mom. Her parents are gone, and this month marks the anniversaries of their deaths. So when we're here, there's memories all over this place. Then he said, for me, I grew up working on the farm, and we knew everyone who lived around here. I knew their parents and their grandparents. All this land, all through here, used to be little family farms, and now it's Walmart, and it's hard to watch. So it was then that I learned that we grieve too for places. The fact that it took me that long to realize itself is a marker of my own privilege. For of course, there are people born knowing what it is to lose one's home. In my experience, climate change or climate devastation or disaster has always been one of the issues that Unitarian Universalists have enthusiastically organized around. And I am so proud of that. I appreciate that we have cultivated a culture of care for the world around us as a people of faith. But sometimes I have worried. I have worried that we fail to see that this is about something so much bigger than us taking shorter showers or driving a Prius. As Lauren so aptly demonstrated with the children earlier this morning, we are talking about interconnection, and we know and have always known that what affects one of us affects us all. If we are going to make real change in regard to climate devastation, we must first look to the root of the problem. And for me, the root of our problem is that most of our world operates on a system that values profit at all costs, no matter what. We are forced into this, us regular people. We do not know another way. The way our economy is built, corporations will always put profit over everything else, will extract as many resources as they can as quickly as they can. They will always put care for our planet at the bottom of the priority list until it is too late. We have been warned by activists for a very long time that soon fires and earthquakes and floods would get bigger, would get more frequent, would happen in places they hadn't before as waters around the globe continue to rise. And I fear that we are there now. So you must forgive me for my rage when we suggest that it is on us as individuals to fix this, to bike to work, to use less water. These are all good things, but you'll have to forgive me for my rage when I check my email and my promotions tab is Celebrate Earth Day, things you can do for the planet this Earth Day, all from companies urging us to buy more stuff. I believe that we should do what we can, when we can. But I do not believe that it is within our power as individuals to make up for the horror that capitalism has wrought on our interconnected web. It would not be possible, and I believed that to suggest that it's something individuals can take on is little more than a distraction from the reality at hand. This is not to say we should do nothing or ignore the problem, certainly not. But I think we need to know this truth in our bones. We must know that as individuals or as small groups, we do not hold enough power to undo all that has been done before. If we are to make change, it must be a concerted effort. And in my opinion, that effort would have to mean a complete restructuring of everything we know to be true. A tall order, and yet, what is the price of survival? What is the price of the lives of our children and our children's children? I do not know. But I began this morning with grief, because I believe grief is the beginning of what we are all feeling. And we need to grieve the fact that we, our people, our planet, have been used for so long to make the rich richer and the poor poorer. We must grieve the fact that if we do not figure out how to live together in peace, and peace involves our planet too, then we may not live at all. In the words of the writer Terry Tempest Williams, the eyes of the future are looking back at us, and they are praying for us to see beyond our own time. They are kneeling with hands clasped that we might act with restraint, that we might leave room for the life that is destined to come. To protect what is wild is to protect what is gentle. Perhaps the wilderness we fear is the pause between our own heartbeats, the silent space that says we live only by grace. Wilderness lives by this same grace, and wild mercy is in our hands. I met Terry when I was in seminary. She was a writer in residence and would come to lectures and classes I was in, and she would always describe herself as being in mourning, in what she called apocalyptic grief. Her writing is a love letter to place, with its vivid descriptions of the desert landscape. And the heaviness of those words, apocalyptic grief, hit me with their truth. Some among us will know that the word apocalypse in Greek means uncovering. I wonder if it is now that we are uncovering the truth that many of us have known in our bones forever, that if we are connected, all of us living creatures, and most especially our planet, then we cannot continue to live in a way that does harm. Our web will fall apart. In the words of Terry Tempest Williams again, our kinship with Earth must be maintained. Otherwise, we will find ourselves trapped in the center of our own paved-over souls with no way out. So, where do we go for hope? To be honest, and I think the most important thing for a minister to be is honest, I am not sure. A colleague said recently that she wondered if we'd become too dependent on hope. One thing I do know is that if we're ever going to make change, we have to join forces with people we may not know or like, that live and worship differently than we do. This is what I mean when I say the snarls in our interconnected web. Relationships are messy and complicated, and yet relationships are at the center of all that we do. So as we close this morning, I keep going back to the soil we shared earlier, the soil that we brought from our collective spaces. And I know that in some ways, conscious or not, we are already grieving what might lie ahead. But I also look to this collective vessel, and I think it represents our connection to one another. No matter what, we are not alone. No matter what, there is a love that holds us. May it be so. Amen.
Our closing hymn is Blue Boat Home, hymn 1064 in the teal booklet.
Oh, below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the light of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet sing the sky my sailor song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
As we extinguish the chalice, I invite you to speak the words of our mission and vision. Welcome radically, love boldly, grow spiritually, and serve courageously. We filled with compassion, helping all thrive in a just world.
So, friends, we have gathered here this morning to sing, to share soil, to share memories, to laugh, maybe to cry, to understand our place in this interconnected web. So my hope for you as you go forth from our time together this morning is that you take with you these memories and that they be fuel for your journey. Go in peace.